But you can talk, you can hang out.
You two look great.
Poor design by putting the camera on the bottom. It's supposed to be, I think, so you can flip it over in tablet form, but when I had it in tablet form, I was upside down.
Yeah, it looks great now. I like your little plant in the background. Maeve, I love your background.
Yes, I dressed today. You know, you never know how cold or warm it's going to be up here on the
windy.
mountain. So yeah, so today I
Windy.
have several layers, and it's
But it's
definitely
not,
warm.
it doesn't look windy. It's
not windy at all.
Yeah.
A little tiny breeze through that Templeton Gap.
I think when it's hot, we don't get the wind, which I love.
Yeah.
I don't like wind. Are we there?
We're here. That diurnal swing that Chris Toronto taught me about the first time I came here. You know, that's what Paso. That's one of the best parts of Paso. It's like diurnal swing, baby, right? Isn't that how it used to go in the Paso wine school?
Layers of clothing.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly it. All right. It looks like we are live over on the Facebook side of things. I know that there's a little lag, and it looks like we've got some people joining us over here on Zoom already. Get those people on up besides ourselves. So very cool. Yep, we got a few people tuning in. That's great. Glad to see some people tuning in for this fun topic today. We'll give it a second and let Facebook catch up to us, and so that way we can kind of go live. So, but like live, like talking live. Not that we're not live now.
Right.
Yeah.
Am I frozen again?
Yeah, you're fine.
A little, but then you come back. It's all good.
Okay.
So, you know, Cynthia's gonna freeze a little. We've worked on that. We've got it handled. There might be a couple barking dogs, but we know how to mute. Maeve is on top of a mountain, and luckily the wind isn't blowing. And Janis's camera is having a slight resolution issue, but it's all good. We can still see her and her smiling face. So that totally works. Awesome. All right. Looks like we got a few many people over on the Facebook side of things, and I know we'll get more. So let's get going because we've got a lot to talk about today. So, oh, hey, we've got a few people chiming in over here real quick before checking in from Chicago. Mike Wilkie, thanks for coming on. Steve and Martha Hewitt joining from Columbus, Ohio. Always great to have you on. Looks like you've been having some cruddy weather over there, so glad you're on for another Paso Wine Hour. Looks like they're drinking a Ranchero Cellars Carignan. So
nice.
Oh, you know Amy pretty well, I think. Right on. All right. Cool. Well, hey everyone, Chris Toronto again with the Paso Robles Wine Hour, or the Paso Wine Hour, sorry, messing up the name of my own show. And we are talking about something pretty much on the national and ever so often narrative of our kind of almost social conscience, right? Where we talk about women in business, women in wine, women in industry, and all of these other things, always wanting to make sure that there's equity and make sure that there is always some form of parity and the like that exists out there in our worlds. And I think for the most part, we all see that, we all know it, we all feel it. But sometimes it just takes that moment to take a moment and talk about it. And that's what we're doing that's what we're doing today anyway on the Paso Wine Hour, is introducing a few ladies who are in leadership positions in the wine industry. You'll notice not anybody in production, because we've done that a lot, actually, believe it or not. We have a lot of ladies that are involved, women that are involved in production here that we've highlighted with other topics. And so I wanted to take a different approach and talk to an owner, talk to somebody in marketing, and talk to somebody doing barrel sales, and get their kind of impressions of the industry and their journey into the industry, if you will, and what challenges may have existed along the way. Today we have Janis Pelletiere-Denner from Pelletiere Estate. We have Cynthia Bowser from Gangutia Toneleria. I actually, yeah, ahead of time. How do I pronounce that so I don't mess it up? And we went through that back and forth, and I still screwed it up. We have Maeve Pesquera from DAOU Vineyards and Winery as well. Welcome, ladies. I'd love to get you all to say a quick hello and a little bit about your brand to the audience watching. So Janis, I'll start with you, please.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here. It is, I told you already, this is my first Zoom ever. I'm Janis Pelletiere Denner. I am the proprietor of Pelletiere Estate, which is a small boutique all estate winery that focuses on Italian varietals.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Cynthia Bowser. Hello.
Hey, I'm from Toneleria, Gangutia. I know it rolls off the tongue. Basically, Toneleria is, you've all heard of a taqueria. It's a factory for making tacos. A Toneleria is a factory in Spain that makes barrels. Toneleria and Gangutia is the family name. The business has been in the Gangutia family for 151 years. So there's the name.
Wow.
All right, right on. And we'll get more into barrel sales and all that good stuff and some of the things that Cynthia is doing in that world. Maeve, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for having me on today. I'm thrilled to be here with Janis and Cynthia to talk about this topic with you all. So my name is Maeve Pesquera. I am the Senior Vice President here at DAOU Family Estates. I'm honored to be here working with Daniel and George DAOU, two brilliant brothers who also discovered Paso many years ago and put a stake in the ground about making first growth quality Cabernet and Bordeaux in the Adelaide district of Paso Robles. So honored to be here with them and with you all today.
Right on. And so, you know, we often in this region, I don't think we really take that moment to think about women involved in the industry. I think it's a natural, and I hope I'm not being naive with this or not, but I feel like everywhere you go, in every business that you go to, there are so many people that you don't really consider it, you don't really think of it. Maybe we live in a vacuum here in Paso, and maybe that's something that we actually need to even discuss and talk about today. But I know for one thing is that with Maeve in particular, we kind of imported her in. She was already involved in the wine industry for quite some time in other places besides Paso. I mean, I think you were in Texas and you were in Southern California. We met when you were in Southern California. Maeve, I'd love to talk for you to share your story first, though, please, on for one thing, getting into the industry and how you found yourself in the industry, separate or apart from coming to Paso, but how you found yourself in the industry. Were there any challenges as you were kind of working your way into the positions that you held?
Well, it's kind of a long story. I'll try to keep it succinct, but in a nutshell, I am from Texas, and at a very young age, I had the privilege of working with a wonderful restaurateur named Tony Valone. I was at school at the University of Houston in the hotel restaurant management program, and we needed to go find a job just to make sure that we liked the industry. So I appeared at one of our fine dining locations there in Houston. He had 6 restaurants in a 3-mile radius, all focused on old school, classic Italian fine dining. And I appeared there at the host stand. I'll never forget, I was 19. And I was so young and naive that I looked around, I realized there was no women there. It didn't really bother me. I just said, do you even hire women? Like, I didn't know like you like technically couldn't hire, you know, say that you didn't. But in a nutshell, they thought I was probably just this, you know, sweet little naive thing from a small town. So they sent the GM over to talk to me, and he hired me. The next thing you know, I was the only female working in that hardcore, old school Italian team service fine dining world, except for this super beautiful hostess, of which I was not. So I realized quickly that I had to earn my place there by working incredibly hard, learning as intensely as I could, and proving myself to that core professional wait staff that I meant business. And so that's what I did. I was 19 when I started. At 21, I was the manager of that same restaurant. At 23, I was general manager of that same restaurant. And that is where I really got the wine bug, because the owner taught me about wine. And I ran the wine program there for a number of years. At some point, I was recruited out of that location to open up the first Fleming's Prime Steakhouse and Wine Bar in the Houston area, the second one in Texas. Ran the wine program there for many years. And after about 8 years in there, they brought me here to California to run the national wine program and be responsible for all alcohol beverage, culinary innovation, marketing training and implementation across all of our 28 states and 70 locations. And so that's how I ended up coming to Paso. And that is when I met you, Chris, and experienced Paso for the first time. Yeah. I do have to say a caveat, I'm a super wine geek. You know, I'm a somm. I've been doing this my whole career. I'm so passionate about wine. And so when I received the invitation to come to then it was called the Buyer's Retreat, to come to that experience here, I didn't realize it was going to be a life-changing moment for me, but it was.
Wow.
Well, I think we'll probably get into that here in just a second. I want to continue this kind of journey into wine with Cynthia, because Cynthia, I know a little bit of your background, and your wine background was completely after success in a completely different industry that probably had a lot of interesting kind of male-female dynamics that happened as in your journey, and talk a little bit about that.
I froze again, so.
Talk.
My journey into the wine industry, you know, my other industry that I was involved in was the fitness industry for almost 30 years. But when I was in college studying business, my degree's in business, I got the fitness bug and I got the wine bug. And I determined to use my youth in fitness and try to study wine along the way. So I moved to California for my first job out of college, just to study the wine regions in California. And I fell in love with Paso, 1993. I've been wanting to move here since 1993, but as life happens, I wasn't able to get here until 2012. So that's actually when I shifted gears in 2011 and left the fitness industry behind and got involved, jumped in feet first into the wine industry. Yeah.
And what was that kind of journey like? Because you also went to school for a little while. I think you were up in Napa at some point in time. I mean, during that time, correct. Challenges or anything like that? I mean, as a female studying and wanting to get into this industry?
Well, I went to the Culinary Institute of America.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. I didn't know if that was coming out. Yeah, I took a course. I don't know if they have this course still. It was a fairly new course that a number of master somms put together called the Wine Immersion. So it was 6 months of purely being baptized in the world of wine, learning the world of wine, all the major wine regions. And then, of course, exams and testing at the end. So the whole entire time of school was like a kid in a candy shop. And then, you know, exams come at the end. But yeah, that was my foray into formalizing my passion into industry and wine.
Yeah, all the while wanting to come to Paso, huh?
Yes, I did realize very quickly that my early entry into the wine industry, I'd be a dime a dozen as a graduate from the Culinary Institute in Napa. And I've had such a passion and heart for Paso, I was hoping that maybe I could bring a level of expertise and energy and passion to Paso. Yeah. And since I've been here, I've found, and this is worlds, but I've found where our industry or our region needs more support. And Napa has Toneleries all abound. Sales reps, importers, even some brick and mortar where they build the barrels up there. So Paso doesn't have that.
Yeah. And I find it interesting, though, that you have gravitated, though, over to the supplier side of things. Your barrel sales. I mean, how many women are running around selling barrels? That feels very kind of male, you know?
It's very male. Yeah, it is. There's not. And actually, I believe I wanted to ask you earlier, but I'm not in barrel sales per se, although I do sell barrels. I'm an importer. And I believe I'm only one of 2 importers based here in Paso.
Oh,
Everybody
okay.
else drives down from Napa once a season. But yeah, very male dominated. Last year I went to, I went to the University of Hard Knocks, focusing on logistics. It's no fun trying to figure out logistics, but I did, and I conquered, and I have a warehouse here in town. I'm bringing barrels in, but everyone I talk to, logistics partners, my less than load trucking partners, my shipping partners, it's all male.
Yeah, and I'm sure challenging as language of logistics is already difficult, and you're dealing with Spain as well. I'm sure there's a lot of interesting dynamics that happen there. Janis, your path into wine now, and I know that this is an interesting story that I would love for you to share how, and you have a familiar, I should say, surname after Pelletiere being Denner. And so your path into wine and into Paso, I think we're kind of one and the same, no?
No, not really.
Okay.
So I was born and raised in Chicago, and I left Chicago on my 21st birthday, it just happened to be that, to move to California. And I moved to San Jose, and I started a market research company there, which I grew and ran for 29 years. And then both my kids came down to San Luis Obispo to go to school. So I was visiting, and I just fell in love with the area. And I had decided I was going to, after 29 years, I was going to sell my company and move to Paso to retire. And that's really all I intended to do at the time. And then I moved here, sold my company, and friends, wine enthusiast friends came to visit, and they wanted to go tasting. So we went tasting, and that became my introduction into I had gone wine tasting, but that was an introduction into the wine world. I became more involved, and my eyes were kind of open to the wine industry, and I decided then that I wanted to purchase a winery. Mainly from my viewpoint, it was a legacy project. You know, I had sold a company, and I realized that if I didn't do something with the proceeds of my life's work, I was going to leave currency. And I didn't want to leave currency behind. I wanted to leave a legacy instead. So a winery seemed like the way to do that. And I had very good connections. And so, and I had a wonderful group of people, a collaborative effort to help me. And in 2014, I bought this property that we're at.
Yeah. And I remember the property before. I don't recall the name, and it probably isn't important, but I will tell everybody, it was nice. I mean, it was tired.
It was neglected.
Put into this place.
It was neglected, yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's beautiful.
Well, I wanted a property I knew that I couldn't afford anything super big. So I was looking for a small property, and I wanted it to be in the Willow Creek district because I wanted to produce premium wines. And this was literally the only property for sale. And it had Italian varietals that were planted already. And I thought, this sounds good. And it was the only thing for sale. And I think it's been the only thing for sale since then. So it became, well, this is my property. This is the one that I'm going to buy. And so that's what, it was a long process, but in the end, we remodeled literally everything here.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Italian varieties, I mean, your last name also, it seems to kind of fit in with it, with the Italian thing. Were you already into Italian varieties as it was?
No, not really. Honestly, I wasn't. And a lot of people think my name is French. A lot of people want to say Pelletiere, and it's actually Pelletiere, or in Italy, it would be more like Pelletiere. So that was a natural fit. I was going to name whatever winery I bought Pelletiere. And so having the Italian varietals was kind of a bonus, and I thought it was very fortunate. And so it seemed like it was all meant to be.
How many acres do you have planted there?
We're on a 16-acre parcel and we have 12 acres planted.
Yeah.
So we've done some changes, but we are growing right now Sangiovese, Nebbiolo, Montepulciano, Lagrein, Primitivo, Alianico. I think I named them all. And then Viognier and Syrah.
That, and so you had it in your head. You were coming, you were going to buy a winery. But...
Well, no, I didn't have that in my head until later.
Yeah.
I was just coming to retire.
Just coming to retire.
Yeah, I'm just going to retire.
And you're not retired. You're there day in and day out. And and I,
you know, a lot of people say that, and I am here all the time, but there isn't a place I'd rather be.
Good.
And it's not a bad gig. Okay. I mean, so because I'm not a winemaker, and we are a small production, I'm basically in the hospitality manager and the tasting room manager. So I'm here all the time. I do a heck of a lot of pouring, but I get to meet the best people, and you know, it's really a nice gig.
And from running a very successful market research firm to coming into this kind of sole proprietorship of running a winery, I mean, you probably had a bit of a leg up on obviously running a company and running a business.
Mm-hmm.
Were there interesting challenges that you found along the way as far as a winery is concerned that were just completely like, oh, that's unique and different?
Oh, well, sure. I mean, the fact that it's agriculture and, you know, the vineyard produces every year, and there was just so much that I needed to be brought up to speed on. But I had a great team. You know, Amy Butler was fabulous, or is fabulous. You know, I had a great vineyard team. When we did the remodel, I mean, talk about, you know, just this huge collaborative effort to get it done. And so everybody, you know, it takes a village, and it did.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning a ton about the wine industry.
Yeah, that's cool. Having a leg up though on the wine industry, Maeve, you, of course, when you arrived here, now you made a pretty big switch from being a buyer to basically being on the supplier side. Were there some interesting
I have to say,
there?
I have to say, when I was a buyer, all my jokes were super funny, and I was always the most popular person in the room. I had a lot of friends. No, I'm kidding. But you know, what I saw when I came to Paso, you know, I would allow myself one trip per year to learn about a wine growing region. And this ain't my first rodeo. You know, I'm 25 plus years in business at this point. So I had been to most of the major wine growing regions in the world. And I say that not with hubris or pride. I guess you could say kind of, you know, I've been around, but not like been around. I do have 5 kids, and it's the same husband. I'm just pointing that out. But I had been around the world and seen a lot of beautiful things. And when you all invited me to come to Paso, you know, I traveled 3 or 4 weeks a month for my job, and I thought, you know, okay. And then as it got closer, I thought, you know what, everything I ever read about Paso, I just, you know, what is it? It's like 2 sentences in the book. I don't even think that counts as a paragraph. The sentences say something kind of like Heritage Zinfandel region, Rhone region. And I told my husband, I'm like, you know, I just can't go. I'm just too tired. It's just too much going on. He said, honey, take the trip. You need the trip. Go fill your cup, you know, so to speak. So I drove out to Paso with an inbox full of work, and you know, kind of a neutral expectation of what I would find here. Neither good nor bad. But I'll tell you, on my first night, and it makes me emotional, but I was standing on a hill in East Paso, where I'm very privileged to live now, Geneseo District represent. I was talking to a winemaker who was telling me all about the totally obscure Italian varietals that he had planted, and how he was going to co-ferment that and field blend. And my mind was just blown. I thought, you know, first of all, this is incredibly inspiring, because every winemaker by definition is passionate. But this man was driven. He came to Paso to do what he was driven to do. So my realization on that hill in East Paso was that what I was witnessing was the Wild West of the wine world. to me then and now, Paso is the last place to secure incredibly high quality vineyard land and do what you were driven to do. And that's what this man was doing. And that's what Daniel and George are doing here on DAOU Mountain. And I'll tell you, you know, we didn't come to DAOU on that trip. But I thought, well, I'm all the way the heck out here. It's kind of hard to get here. That was, you know, 9 years ago. Now it's much easier. You can fly. I thought, I'm all the way the heck out here. I'll just go by, you know, check the box, you know, kind of say hello. I did not have an appointment. I was not a buyer. And as you know, when you're a buyer, like things happen, like red carpets roll out and angels sing your name. No. I was just a girl on a Friday and I ran a minivan. And for those of you that have been here, and when I turned that corner and I saw the vineyard, I just about ran off the road because I thought, you know, whoa, you know, where am I right now? What else does this Paso have in store for me? This looks, am I in Tuscany right now? I'm definitely not in Napa. Like, what is happening here? This vineyard is so incredibly unique. And, you know, I came in the tasting room kind of mouth agape, and I meant to stay for 15 minutes, but as fate has it, I met Daniel and George that day and stayed 3.5 hours and drove home just full of, refilled my cup, my passion for wine. Because 25 years in the wine business and 5 kids later, I realized that I had somehow lost that and switched into the business of wine versus the wine business. And Paso brought that back for me. So it was a very special time in my life. And I did not go home and say, I'm moving to Paso. But somehow I was drawn here to DAOU Mountain 3 years later. And I'm just so proud to be your neighbor and part of the community.
Yeah, right on. That was a great trip too. That was a lot of fun. And I recall just before you left, that you were exceptionally grateful, and I thought to myself, well, that's nice. You know, usually when we host buyers, they're always really grateful. Thanks a lot. You know, at the end of the trip, but yeah, there was so much sincerity out of you, and then to see all of a sudden you're moving here and coming here, I was like, whoa, wow, that was pretty neat.
Well, what's happening in Paso? It was about 8 years ago, I think. You know, and to me, what's happening in Paso is this is the birth of the next great American wine region. And so, you know, watching this happen and unfold and being, you know, blessed to be a tiny pebble, a part of that, it's thrilling. You know, we're going to look back on this 25 years from now and say, whoa.
Well, I wouldn't say, honestly, and Janis, you were about to make a comment, and I'm going to get to you in just a second here, but I wouldn't say that Maeve is just a tiny pebble, because since the time that she's been at DAOU has, of course, accomplished a lot of great things as a brand, but then also Maeve has been tapped in so many ways and so many committees locally. She's involved in the community here. She's become a really, honestly, everybody, a force in a sense, and a point of view from the wine industry that is very much sought out. So pebble you might be, and maybe everybody else thinks that as much, but I think we're all very active cogs in the wheel. Janis, you were going to say something.
I was only going to say, Maeve had me at 5 kids. I mean, 5 kids, right? And accomplishing all this. I was like, I have 5 kids.
Well, you know, I think, you know, I was, you know, my generation, I think, was sold the concept of you can have it all. Mm-hmm. And, you know, looking back on that now, I think the subtext of that conversation was, and if you don't, you're somehow, you know, inadequate. And so for me, I'm going to push myself and I'm going to push. And so I did try to have it all. And, you know, as I, you know, go through life and get older, I think it's very important for women to share with one another that, yes, you can, but there are sacrifices and it's very hard. And so once I realized that, because generally speaking, as women, we don't like to be vulnerable or open up about those things. And so it's definitely not a woe is me thing. It's just acknowledging to women who I've mentored in the past or worked with in the past that, yeah, you can do it and it's hard. That makes them feel better about their own struggle. So that's something I've always been very open about, to help others understand it's not always as easy as it looks.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yeah. Yeah, mm-hmm. Cynthia, you know, you, by the way, opened and began this business, and you've already worked in this industry. You've already been doing the work, but now as this representative for Gangutia family, you opened that in the middle of a pandemic.
I did, yes. Their past distributor, who used to be my employer, dropped them in the middle of their sales cycle. And I am not only passionate about Paso, but I have a real heart for La Rioja, Spain, and for this family, and for what they're doing and the quality they're bringing to barrels. So it was just a great opportunity. It's not always perfect to start any business in the middle of any downturn, economic or otherwise. So, but you know what? It's thriving. I was so very lucky to have already had amazing winery partners who already trusted me with my work ethic and my integrity. And also, when I bring something to the table, I've always told everyone, I can't sell ice cubes to Eskimos. That is not why I'm in sales. I partner with all of my brands and work with them. So I was so fortunate last year when I started this business. We start this barrel conversation in January, start taking orders in March, and I opened business in June. So it was late in the sales cycle, and I was very, very fortunate to have already had great brand partners that were just very supportive. And yeah.
And forgive me, but I know a little bit, of course, of your backstory. I'll tell everybody, Cynthia is a friend of mine, and we have some fun conversations about a little bit of everything in life. And I know, Cynthia, that early on, you actually developed your fitness industry and your fitness business at a point when your kids were pretty young and you were basically a single mom and you're out there fighting the good fight. I mean, that must build a lot of resilience and a lot of determination to sit there and think, well, we're in the middle of an international or a global pandemic, and I'm still going to open this business and still work internationally. I mean, what was that like?
You know, you just have to. I don't believe in just doors closing and saying, oh, I guess that door's closed. You just knock down a lot of barriers and plow through. And I mean, when I first started trying to find logistics partners, I felt like I was hitting my head against the wall because everyone wanted to just put me in their system as a client before they could even answer a few questions. So yeah, it was definitely full of challenges, but I feel fortunate. You know, my upbringing, my dad's a naval officer, so nothing is impossible. That's how I grew up.
Yeah, with a lot of support from your family, because I know you come from a large family of many sisters, and yes. I'm sure there's a lot of determination in your family as well. There's a quick question, by the way, Cynthia, from over on the Facebook side of things. As an importer, do you just do barrels exclusively or other types of vessels like stainless, concrete, or amphora?
Just barrels and adjuncts. So any kind of oak adjunct, everything that we do at the Toneleria, once you cut a piece of lumber into a stave, all that byproduct goes into powder, cubes, tank staves. But no, I don't do any other vessels, just 225 liter, 228, 300, and 500 liter. I don't do anything else, concrete, steel, or otherwise. Yeah.
So, hey, Janis, there is a question over, and then I'd love to get to know what everybody is sipping on here in just a second. But Janis, have you, and let's see, let me hope I get this right here. I'm reading from small print and I have to remove my glasses, everybody. So have you had Amy and Janis? I think they're asking about Dorothy Jean. Is that a collaboration between you and Amy?
Yes.
And then they said that they love the Chardonnay, by the way.
I love the Chardonnay too. And yes, that was a project between Amy and I. That was just really, we did it for the pure joy of it. We make only a Chardonnay, 150 cases per vintage. And she does a marvelous job with it. But yes.
Yeah. And Amy Butler is Janis's winemaker who has her own brand, Ranchero Cellars, and of course did this project. And I think she consults elsewhere, but quite the boon in getting her involved. What was that like? Did you seek Amy out Did you meet her ahead of time and decide you're my winemaker? I mean, how did that come about?
Yeah, pretty much it did. I met her through dinner. Amy makes her wines at her Ranchero Cellar wines at dinner. And so I was always aware of her. And then when I had purchased the winemaker, or excuse me, I purchased the winery. I took possession in September. We did not open until January. So we were doing remodeling, etc. But actually prior to that, Amy was with me through escrow and everything. So it was probably 2013. I asked around and I asked Ron who would be a great winemaker for me. And he said, well, let me ask Anthony. And everybody came back with Amy Butler. So I called her. I said, do you want to be my winemaker? She said, sure. It was that simple. Yeah. Which is the simplicity sometimes of Paso that I really like too. And so she was with me every step of the way through escrow and, you know, sampling the wine because I bought wine in barrel, and she was fabulous because there were times when she, you know, she was running the wine production and we had wine in barrel, and a lot of it was not good. It wasn't acceptable. And I would tell her, go check it again. Maybe it is. She's like, no, it is not acceptable. And so she made wines that we were opening with, and then she was also making the 14 vintage at the same time. And she was instrumental because she said, here's what we're doing. Here's what you're doing. You're going to make this, this is how much we're making of it. And that's what you're opening with. I was like, okay, thank you. So yeah, she was fabulous.
And
I mean, she's a pro. Yeah.
As a leader in industry and as this person coming into it fresh, was that refreshing for you, or were you kind of like, whoa, don't I, you know, do I get a say in this?
No, of course. She always asked me, you know, what did I want? What did I want? And I said, you know, you are the professional. I mean, you're the winemaker. I want you to make wines that you know how to make. I want you to make wines that people enjoy. I want you to do your thing. And she always did. And I mean, of course I was included, but I didn't interfere. I don't interfere with the vineyard, you know, management per se. I learn and I sometimes express my questions and my perspective, but I do let them do what they know how to do, and I don't. So yeah, it was good.
I'd like to get into what we are tasting this afternoon, and we'll keep this conversation going as well. I want to start though, because while we're talking to Janis, I found in my office a 2016 Sangiovese Reserva.
Nice.
With this thing, that sounds so horrible, by the way. I found in my office, like
temperature controlled.
Yeah. It's no, I knew it was here, but tasting so good. It's a 16, and it is absolutely vibrant. It has so much incredible fruit to it right now. It's lean though. The acid is just completely there. This is such a delicious wine.
Thank you.
I'm having, and so, you know, thank you for, you know, making it basically, because it's just, but Janis, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Pelletiere 2019 Vineyard.
Right.
It's actually co-fermented with Muscat Canelli because we have two tiny rows of Muscat on the property, which was planted by my predecessor. And Amy wanted to use all the fruit on the property, and so she co-fermented, and every year we've co-fermented. So it's got a nice little, add some subtle notes of honeysuckle, and it's, you know, it's shiny, it's bright, it's crisp, it's delicious.
Yeah. Nice. What did it retail for?
36.
36. And you said it's a 19. So from the last year that we had with some, I guess you could say, decent rainfall, but then now what we're looking at with potentially going into a drought, what are the plants looking like right now? How are we looking?
Well, this is a 2019 for which we are sold out. So we have not bottled our 19s, which would be our 20 Viognier we're bottling in a few weeks.
Got it.
I think the vineyard looks great. You know, we've been tweaking it since I took over in 14, and it looks great. And I think that you know, we haven't really had to put any water on the vineyard, and it's I think it's going to be a good vintage.
You're in an interesting spot there, and for everybody watching, where Janis's location is there in the Willow Creek district, it's nestled kind of into, I guess you could say, a low spot. So it has protection anyway, but at the same time, you probably have a lot of really good drainage happening to your area, and so yet with all of that kind of clay loam, but yet deep down a lot of that calcareous stuff, it's probably retaining some water and giving you the good stuff over through what could be a very warm summer we're headed into. So awesome.
Yeah.
Right on. Maeve, I know you have a rosé. I want to go to you next. What are you drinking?
Well, you mentioned the warm summer, so I thought it must be rosé today. So I'm having the DAOU Reserve Rosé, made in a classic Provençal method, where Daniel and George learned about rosé. A beautiful wine. It's one of my favorites. We have two versions of rosé. We have this one here that we sell at the winery, and we have another one that we sell out in the world. Both of which are my current favorites. You'll see me either at home or here in the mountains sipping one of these two rosés. I love it. It's a beautiful Grenache, a Grenache-based rosé from Paso fruits, of course, and just really beautiful round on the palate. Lots of really vibrant acidity and minerality right through the center. So very well balanced. I love this wine.
Maeve, is it pretty well distributed, that rosé?
This one here is only available at the estate.
Okay.
And the other one, yes, was our first vintage last year of the wine that we call Discovery Rosé. And we sold out very quickly. And we are back in the market this year and excited to share that out in the world as a beacon of what Paso can do and what DAOU can do.
Yeah. I mean, not to take away from what we're drinking and all of that, but Maeve, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about maybe what you're seeing in this kind of COVID world, since you're pretty well distributed, representing today anyway. I mean, how's it looking out there as far as buyers and as the nation is starting to open up again? Are we seeing some pretty active sales and the like?
I can tell you from the tourist perspective, as you can see when you go downtown to go out to eat any night of the week, you can see that Paso is packed. It's a true discovery region that resonates with every single demographic of age, from millennials who are looking for the experience, to us Gen Xers who just want to send their kids to college and have a nice experience, to boomers who are looking for an alternative, a beautiful wine country trip that's as exciting from a wine perspective, but less expensive than our friends up north. So Paso is resonating strong from a tourist perspective. So we're seeing that downtown, we're seeing that here at the estate. And certainly during COVID, we had a strong retail presence with some of our wines, as Paul on the chat mentioned here, and that was a blessing and a gift. We also pivoted very sharply to focus on virtual, engaging with our people, focusing on members and our trade partners and our consumers out in the world, because here at DAOU, we always want to focus on keeping the consumer at the center of all that we do. So really focusing on connection. And through that, we were able to make it through the recession, the recession back to 2008, the COVID and as best as we could.
Yeah. No, I know that from our standpoint, as a marketing organization and now reaching back out into the world, I will say that there are definitely still challenges out there as the nation is still opening up. And I know as we reach out to buyers and the like, that so many people have maybe changed positions and maybe not even in their positions anymore. And it's going to be an interesting next couple of months as we're out there trying to promote Paso and hopefully encourage placements as restaurants are opening back up.
Well, I can tell you that certainly Paso always over delivers for the price point out in the marketplace. So it's a gift for a buyer to be able to place that wine on the wine list. That's what really drew me here to DAOU, because we feel here at DAOU that great wine should be approachable at many price points. So you should be able to find that bottle in retail on a Tuesday, or also have a special occasion where you open something that is an estate wine. And so certainly from the buyer's perspective, and knowing that hospitality is opening strong, hard, and fast, and all the people who have changed jobs are finding as many jobs as they want right now. There's definitely more jobs than there are people out in the world for hospitality right now. So it's a great time actually for them to find a new spot.
Definitely. You know, it's interesting, but I was looking, just happened to be looking because, you know, we're refreshing our website, everyone, pasowine.com. And so I was thumbing through a few pages of it and happened upon, of course, our classified section, and the amount of jobs available right now here in Paso with wineries is it's impressive. I think we're starting to see, of course, as we're opening up and as we're getting busy again, you know, we have the good fortune of having so much outdoor space here that our wineries have been able to continue to do business just outdoors. Of course, we just went into the orange, as they say here in California, if you're watching from outside of the area, where now you can be indoors with some limited capacity. Cynthia, you are sipping on something red, and you have a lot of clients. Actually, before we get into that wine, I mean, you just opened your business, and all of a sudden you've got all these clients in town. Are you sipping on a client right now, I take it?
I'm sipping on several clients.
Oh, okay, look at you.
This is the time of year where most of my meetings are all about tasting last year's vintage and getting a direction of where we want to go with this next order. And, you know, it's the tragedy of my job is they send me home with all this wine. So it's a real
Wine
blessing.
country's rough.
I know, yeah, tough job. So I'm sipping on several. If I may shamelessly promote my brand partners. One of my longest standing, these guys were with me from the beginning, Allegretto, the Allegretto Vineyards and Winery. This is a Tannat, and he's putting this Tannat in 100% American oak. So oddly enough, I have a lot of American oak in Rioja, Spain. That's what they use primarily for
that's an interesting thing, by the way, if I can interrupt you real quick. A lot of the American oak that exists, and so many brands love to use American oak, whether it be for Tempranillo here or for that matter Rioja in Spain. But the American oak actually goes over to Spain, gets made into barrel, and then
it gets seasoned.
Yeah.
So it sits outside to become seasoned, to lose harsh tannins and greenness, and so it sits outside in the center of La Rioja, Spain, getting seasoned, and then 3 or 4 or 5 years out in the elements. But yeah, so La Rioja, Spain, when they started making wine, there was a civil war going on, and they couldn't get French oak across the border. So in their beginnings, they found American oak, and that has become such a marriage of their wine and their flavor profile that still happens. So I'm not shipping oak from America over there and then shipping it back. It's already over there. There's a constant flow of American oak going to Spain for that reason.
Yeah. Interesting. You have another in your hand that I know you're chomping at.
Yeah. So one of my newest clients is a Paso brand, Broadside, which is part of a larger company called Wine Hooligans. And this is one of their premier labels. So it's called Black Letter. So it's the Broadside Cabernet Sauvignon, but it's Black Letter. These guys are they're using a barrel I have that's a blended American and French oak. So every other stave is either American from the Appalachian forest or French. And we specifically chose Allier, the French forest Allier for this program. So it's kind of fun. And then if I might, a couple of projects I have going in another very in Paso is the Hope family. So I've got some projects in the Triana and some in the Austin Hope brand. So kind of fun.
We're all partying later, by the way.
Yeah, come on over. And then
Yeah, double shot people
also
only, by the way.
another small
Oh,
brand.
another one.
This is a Tempranillo. So 3 years ago, Steve Baker at Circle B started using my French barrels. And for this Tempranillo project, we did another blended. It's called a mixed barrel. So it's every other state, French and American. So you get some really nice qualities from both oaks, which is kind of fun. So that's all I have. I only have 5 bottles.
So Paso wine country, right on, Cynthia. It was in glass though.
Right now, this is the Allegro Tannat.
Okay, got it. Yeah, Tannat. We talked about Tannat actually recently. I think on one of these shows, or I'm starting to blur shows and media visits actually, to be perfectly honest, because I think it's I'm doing a Tannat sampling. That's right. Never mind, everybody.
I'll save this for you.
Cool. Thank you very much. So, hey, Janis,
Yes.
at the Pelletiere estate, you also, I mean, you're also running, I guess you could say, an inn there as well, as part of the whole experience there. Was that part of also your kind of idea of business when you started that property?
Well, no, but it was certainly something that was very intriguing because the property had an original farmhouse that was built in the 1890s here. And while it needed updating, it was, it had some historical value. And then it had another another building, which was a 1-bedroom kind of maybe a vineyard manager's home at one time. And so we remodeled both of them, and they are vacation rentals. They're Airbnbs. They're not,
Okay.
inns. Yeah, and I was just kind of to what Maeve was saying is that because we are an Airbnb host, I happened to log on, and it said that searching in Paso, the rate of searches for vacation rentals is up 767% over last year.
Wow.
Which is, both about Paso and then about people traveling near. That's kind of the trend. Since we can't travel, a lot of people aren't comfortable traveling by plane or internationally. They're traveling closer to home, which makes Paso a fabulous destination as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was hosting 2 journalists just the other day, which that's happening again, everybody. We're getting journalists visiting, and that's sometimes my primary job is journalism trade. And I actually had 2 in town just the last couple of days, and they were pretty amazed at how coming to Paso, it is so much a kind of a full destination, if you will, with food, with wine, with activities, proximity to the coast. And they were new. They had never been here before.
Right.
They write for Forbes, they write for Travel and Leisure, they write for SF Gate. I mean, they have plenty that well qualified and plenty of places, outlets that they pitch to and place in. And they were absolutely completely stoked and sold on the region. And I'm loving to hear that, because as we're open back up, that we're going to get people traveling here again. And that's great to hear that. Holy cow, that's a huge amount.
767% higher.
That's so exciting. That's one thing that I feel so excited about, is actually being here and watching this happen. As Maeve said earlier, it is, we're just on the precipice of our region becoming not just a tiny little section in a wine store, but, I just spent the winter in Denmark, and their Paso brands are there.
Really?
I am importing them, but I mean, no, outside of my little import-export business, Paso brands are on the shelf in the grocery store in Denmark. And I'm thrilled to see our region becoming like, what is it? Where are you? People know.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. I know that there, so believe it or not, we have 5 minutes left in this conversation. We've been trucking right along. And I want to make sure that the three of you have an opportunity to talk a little bit about maybe what's coming up, what's next. Is there a virtual thing? What are you doing in your role right now? And I still have a couple of questions coming in though from over in the Facebook side of things that I'll pepper in. But Janis, I'd love to start with you if I could. What you got going on right now? Is there anything new? Is there something coming up that we should know about?
Well, we have a couple of new plantings, Alianico. We replanted our Montepulciano, and then we planted, which we hope to get fruit this year, Cannonau, an Italian clone of Grenache. Yeah. So that's in the pipeline.
Where'd you find that? Where, if you don't mind me, sorry, that's for me. Where did you find that?
I don't know. Amy sourced it through a specialty nursery.
That's
but
cool.
Cannonau, yeah. And I love Grenache, and so a lot of people ask, well, how did you choose that? And truly, like Bill Gibbs farms oversees our vineyard, and Amy, Bill Gibbs, and I were sitting there, and we we're like, what are we going to plant? And Amy goes, how about an Italian clone of Grenache? I go, okay. That was it. So I was just sourcing it, and we planted it, I think, in 18. And so we hope to get fruit this year. It would be small production, but we are open by appointment only. And, we have, we've been enjoying hosting people that, have done a little bit of research. Like I like the reservation only, at least for us. People are doing research. They're here intentionally. And we're doing one-on-one tasting experiences now, as opposed to kind of just pre-COVID pouring to whoever walked in. And so now it's a one-on-one kind of custom tasting experience.
Yeah.
And I am pouring out there with my staff, and it's great. We love it.
And I'll tell everybody also, we had a press release go out today that I wrote that we've got some excursion. We're not doing a wine festival this year, but we are having a wine festival weekend. And one of the fun things that we planned is an excursion. So a small group of people will be able to go and do a little walking tour through the vines with Janis, enjoy some wine, enjoy a little bit of cheese, and enjoy the beautiful setting that is Pelletiere Estate. So we're stoked about that. We're super stoked, and I'm going to lead that group, and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. That's
hey, Chris, don't you have an auction going on right now?
Yeah.
I'll get to that when I.
Okay. I just tipped your hat, but I want to make sure we get there.
Cynthia, you are in season right now. You're running out there, and you are selling, and you're getting ready for things. It's your busy season, right?
Yeah, it is. Yep. But I have plans for the future. What's coming up with me? Actually, I was supposed to do this last August. I was supposed to spend a month in Spain learning firsthand how to build a barrel, take it apart, find staves, identify problematic staves, fix holes, figure out all of this stuff. So I wasn't able to enter Spain. I had the government approve my trip until their numbers went crazy and I wasn't able to go. So I'm going to do that this year. At the end of my sales cycle, I will spend a month in Spain going through that whole process so that I mean, if we do our job right, we don't have leaky barrels, but inevitably barrels fall off a forklift, they get beetles, we have to ship our barrels all the way up to Calistoga or Napa to get repaired, and it's costly. So I'm going to actually start that part of my business and service next year. So yeah, hopefully this August I will be doing that. So that's my goal. But I want to keep bringing services to Paso instead of us being that, oh, I guess we don't have anyone here, so we'll ship it all the way up to Napa. To ship 2 pungeons, I just went through this process. It was $580 shipping round trip and $525 for the repair. Someone dropped, so the whole stave had to be replaced. So that's what I'm going to start doing next year, is have the ability for me to be mobile and fix these problems.
That's awesome. That's
Good for
really
you.
cool. And I'd love for you to teach me actually when you get back how to do that, simply because I really dig fixing things and tinkering, and that would be really cool.
Well,
Just that kind of.
when we have the PRWCA boot camps, I would love to provide a little bit of a boot camp.
Look at you promoting yourself to the membership. I love that. Maeve, you guys are busy up on that hill, and yes, we have some things going on together, but what's happening in your world?
Always something exciting happening here at DAOU. Certainly with our other sister brand called Patrimony. As you all may have heard, that Daniel has secured a really special team to launch this wine out into the world to show again what Paso can do. He just received his first 2 100-point ratings on this wine called Patrimony, and he will be building a really beautiful estate here in Adelaide District dedicated to those wines. So we're very excited about that.
Awesome. We have a question over from Facebook about the differences between the 2 rosés. Would you mind going through that again for us, please?
Sure. So I know we're short on time, so I'll try to be succinct, but the rosé that we share out in the world that we call the Discovery Rosé is a Grenache-based Provençal method with 5% Sauvignon Blanc at the end. Just like in Provence, they do Grenache with roll, R-O-L-L-E. Here we do a little bit of Sauvignon Blanc. That is a 2020 wine out in the world, which I might be drinking at my house every single night this week. Number 2, this wine here, the Reserve Rosé, does see some barrel aging, also Provençal method, and is a 2019. So is meant to have a little bit more complexity, and you can taste and smell that on the nose.
Awesome. And so I think roll, of course, is Vermentino, basically, right?
I love your wine geekness, Chris. It always makes me happy. That and Canonau, hearing that from Janis makes me happy.
Speaking on that one, and I want to make barrels. Yeah. One of these days. Right?
I'm totally in for the barrel seminar. Thank you for inviting me, Cynthia.
I want to go to Spain with her.
She knows her way around, I think, too.
Yeah, take me. Yeah.
So we do, yes, we do have our wine auction coming up. And if I didn't mention it, I think JB here on staff would be, actually calling for my firing or something of that sort, or at least throwing things at me. But she would want me to say that go to pasowine.com, check out the fact that we do have our wine auction coming up that begins May 10th, ends on May 16th. It is virtual. There are a lot of amazing packages and lots on there that are very cool. One of those is a Patrimony lot. And Maeve, I don't want to put you on the spot again, and maybe you don't know all the particulars, and that's okay if you don't, but just give us a hint of what Patrimony is all about.
Patrimony has a 3 to 5 year waiting list. It has 2 100-point ratings. The rest of them have been in the super high 90s. This is an incredibly small production, very special cult wine, first of its kind from this area. And the lucky winners of this lot will take a deep dive into that and learn more about that with the estate director of Patrimony, who was the somm at the French Laundry for the past 11 years. His name is Eric Johnson, and he joined us here at DAOU last year. So really intense, fun, cool, educational, super wine geek, and also a great experience day.
Yeah, awesome. It's pretty cool that you actually walk away with wine too, everyone, because I think putting it in some large format bottles, and that's pretty incredible. So that is going to be one of those lots that I think is going to get bid on a lot. Actually, thank you so much for donating that, because all of the lots that we have are donated, and of course, the proceeds go into a scholarship program here locally for high school kids going out into the great big world of whether it be college or trade schools, but helping them achieve their dreams. And that's what we're doing. And as a matter of fact, next week's show, we are going to be highlighting some lots. And I'll be honest, it's just another platform for me to talk to super cool people like I've been able to talk to today, where we start off, of course, talking about the subject, but we're probably going to get into their backgrounds and the wines that they produce and all of that. And so next week, we've got Tyler Russell from Cordenell. We've got Austin Hope, and Maggie Tillman from Alta Colina. They'll talk about their lots and we'll talk about their wines, and we'll have a good old time for another hour on the Paso Wine Hour. Thank you very much, Janis. Thank you. Cynthia. Thank you, Maeve. Appreciate it. Cheers to you and all that you do in the industry.
Cheers.
Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for being a cog in that wheel that we are all a part of. So thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Chris.
having you on next week, 3 o'clock, Paso Wine Hour. Check it out. Thanks. See ya.
Thank you.
He's going